Thank you so much. Hi, how are you, ladies? Nice to see you. We are going to do today another melacha of the 39 melachot of Shabbat, violations of Shabbat. This melacha is called melechet dash. Dash in Hebrew means threshing. So whenever people used to be in the field, they used to collect, the wheat. But then you need to separate the kernel, the seed, the grain itself. You need to separate it from the plant. So usually those days back in time, they used to step on it or beat it or use a lot of force to separate the grain from the plant itself, and this is called threshing. So we're not allowed to, on Shabbat, we're not allowed to separate, to remove, to take something from something else. And so these are the things that we're going to speak to today about. Let's start with a story like we usually do about Shabbat. I saw this story. It happened mamash recently. Somebody was interviewing this family, and they told their story, I guess, from a few weeks ago, so it's fresh and it's new and it's beautiful. It was a regular Friday night. A family in Brooklyn by the name Farhi, two brothers, Yitzhak and Albert Farhi, they sat together for a meal, them, their families, and sitting, enjoying, saying Dvar Torah, singing songs. They had a very important business. They used to sell very, very prestige, jewelries, and they celebrated Shabbat together. Anyway, in the middle of the meal, the phone rang, and of course they wouldn't answer. They observe the Shabbat, they keep it very strictly, everything is good, and they don't answer. Then it stopped, but then voicemail, they heard the message. The message says, "You have burglars that got into your store now. Come on quickly. So one of the brothers, Albert, says to Yitzchak, or the opposite, "What should we do?" So Albert says, "What do you mean, what should we do? We're not going. It's Shabbat. What can we do about this? Nigmar. You're going for any amount, we won't go now." So they continued with the atmosphere of Shabbat, singing, not worrying, and enjoying the Shabbat. As Shabbat ended, they quickly got into their car and drove to the store to see what's happening. They got inside. The first thing that they wanted to check is the safe, because you don't display jewelry, usually it's in the safe. He goes to the safe, and the safe is closed. He opened the safe, and everything is inside. He didn't understand what happened. At that moment, a police car drove by, came in, and started asking the questions. Where were you yesterday? At the time of burglar, why didn't you come? And this, he said, "We observed the Shabbat, we couldn't come." He said, the policeman, "You don't understand how the Shabbat protected you. You gained your life." So they didn't understand, and the policeman started to say that those burglars, they came in with guns. And when they saw that they cannot open the safe, they called you and left a message that you should come quickly. And meanwhile, they were hiding in the store, I don't know exactly where. And they were waiting for you, waiting for you to come. Waited 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 24 hours they waited. Then they gave up and they left. They couldn't open it. So the fact that you kept your Shabbat, okay, it saved you, your life, and your money. They couldn't touch it at all. Beautiful story that was said in the Israeli radio last week.
But nowadays a lot of people are pranking. Not true.
So that's what happened.
No, I know, that's why I was thinking that you're going to say that they were pranking.
So that's a beauty. That's a beauty thing about the Shabbat. Okay, so we started to say that melechet dash is a melacha of separating the grain from the plant. Okay, so basically, after people used to stand or to beat the stalks, whatever, now after a while they came out with these machines that do it, flail it's called, that they do it. Basically, whenever you beat up kernels from the husk, from the peel, okay, to take out the good from the bad, the wheat, the seed, okay, from the grain from the peel. So this melacha. The amount of melechet dash from the Torah that's not allowed is about 18 grams, which is a teaspoon and a half. It's not so much, but but any amount is not allowed. Meaning, let's say somebody holds one grape, you cannot squeeze it to extract even one drop of juice from this. This is grape. The reason is that in the time of the Torah, the fruit that people would extract juice from it, and this is the tolada of this the melacha, is grapes and olives. From grapes, what do? Wine, which is even more important than the grape itself. How much wine costs as opposed to grapes, right? And olive oil, the oil, okay, it's very important too. For the grapes, we have a special bracha, we have bracha gefen, which is much more stronger or elevating or bigger or important than the grape itself. So, Isur Dash, from the Torah, it's gidulei karka. Gidulei karka means whatever grows in the ground. The Rabbanan, the rabbis, added on it, okay, all the toladot that we learn, all the siagim that we learn, the rabbis added to it that we don't, we were not allowed to do it not only on gidulei karka, things that grow on the ground, but other things as well. So the main thing is the primary melacha, okay, what's not allowed to do is to take out the food from the waste, to take out the grain from the peel, right? The toladot, the subgroup or subdivision to it, or whatever you want to call it, it's squeezing all kind of fruits or vegetables, squeezing clothing, if clothing got wet, okay, or milking a cow. Milking a cow is also, you take milk that was in the udder and you take it out, okay? So this is milking, which is the same thing. So on Shabbat, usually we're not allowed to remove the peels of all kind of peas and stuff like that. What do I mean by that? For example, let's say chickpeas, yeah? Chickpeas usually has a peel in there. When it's not cooked yet, I'm talking about chickpeas that are not cooked yet, some people, they soak it in water for a long time. Let's say overnight you soak it. And then you take one by one and you press on it, the peel comes out, right? Some people do it in a different way. They put, let's say, some kind of a sheet or a towel. You put many grains of the chickpeas, and you cover it again, and you press on it. Let's say with a roller or something. You press on it, press on it, and then the peel is coming out. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. Yeah, this is something that we're not doing. This is just to explain what does it mean. So. So this we cannot do on Shabbat, and if you do it just before the meal, let's say this is the way that you eat it. You need to remove the peel, otherwise you cannot do it. Okay, if it's just before a meal, means it's already cooked, those peas or whatever it is. Just before a meal, you can do it. Okay, not ahead of time. That's not a problem. What about peeling? Let's say all kind of nuts, almonds, peanuts, if it comes with a shell. Yeah, before the meal, it's okay, no problem, because this is the way that you usually eat it. Okay, let's explain this issue. There are some things that you do in the field, and there are some things that you do at home. Some things that you do in the field is usually removing the grain, okay, separating the grain from the peel. This is something that you do in the field. This is this type of a job or labor that you do usually in the field. At home, you already bring the ready product. It's just that at home, sometimes you need to peel one by one certain things just before eating. This, to do it before eating, that's not a problem. Like with the nuts that we said before, this is already the way of people, the way that they eat. It's not a problem.
Like sunflower seeds, it's okay, right?
Just before eating, yeah. Another example that he mentions here. I don't know how it is in the United States. Usually, people don't bring clusters of, let's say, dates just from the tree to sell it in the market. Usually it's not like that. Usually they separate it already in the field or in the factory or whatever it is, and then they sell it separately and people buy, separately. However, so if it comes separately, okay, this type of stuff is not a problem. But if it comes a cluster, these dates, this usually we don't separate at home. Because it's not, we usually don't use it this way. However, if people sell in the market, and usually they sell clusters of grapes, for example, this is the way of people eating. This is, you can bring home and wash it or whatever and separate it. That's not a problem to separate it, because that's the way that you eat those grapes. That's not a problem. Okay. Now, of course, any type of fruits or vegetables that you want to peel, it's just before food, just before eating, not ahead of time. Okay? And this is another violation that we have here is borel, selecting. We're going to speak about this, B'ezrat Hashem, some other time. Now we're going to concentrate on squeezing fruit. As we said before, squeezing means to extract juice from a fruit or vegetable, right? So from the Torah, what we're not allowed to do is to squeeze grapes and olives, because this is what they used to do back in time. Rabbis added on top of this also not to squeeze, let's say, strawberries or pomegranates and stuff like that, because if people see that you squeeze these type of fruits, they may come to squeeze also olives and grapes, because they may think that it's okay. However, today, not only strawberries and the pomegranates are not allowed to be squeezed, any type of fruit we cannot squeeze today, because today you can squeeze almost everything. You put into a juicer carrot. You never thought that from carrot you can extract juice, or celery, or all type of even hard stuff. Okay, so today Rabbi said not to squeeze any of these fruits on Shabbat. Now, fruits or vegetables that people usually never squeeze for no reason. So this you're allowed to squeeze if you need. Because this is people usually don't squeeze. Let's say potato, I don't know, or squash. Usually you don't squeeze this type of stuff, yeah. And so if you really need, it says it's okay as long as you do it by hand and not by any machine, not any device, not electric, not manual, or nothing, yeah, by hand. Yes.
What if you're making a fresh salad and you want to squeeze lemon?
Okay. Okay, it's allowed to suck in his mouth all kind of juice that comes from the fruit. It's not a problem. Like pomegranates and oranges and all types of fruit, that's okay. Just that with grapes, rabbis are a little bit strict with this. For example, so with grapes, so if you hold it in your hand and you play with this and you suck it, so the rabbis are a little bit worried about this. But if you put it in your mouth and you suck it, you can suck it as much as you want. No problem. This is derech chilato. This is the way that you're eating it. That's not a problem. Also, you're allowed to suck, let's say, meat from the juice that is in there, no problem. Okay, so this type of stuff are not. It's okay. A liquid that you pour on top of juice that you pour on top of food, it's okay. Okay, you can pour juice on top of food as long as it gets absorbed inside the food. And the food is much more than the juice itself. Okay, in this condition, it's okay to squeeze, let's say, orange into, let's say, a fruit salad. As long as the fruit salad is so much more than the juice that you squeeze inside. It's even allowed, it says, to squeeze grapes, where the rabbis are so strict about this, into a food. If you want to fix the taste of the food into a food, it's okay. Again, as long as the food is so much more than whatever you squeeze. But you have to be careful. Don't do it the opposite, the other way around. What is the other way around? Let's say I want to squeeze orange. Okay, so we could squeeze orange into food. So a lot of people, what they do is they take, let's say, sugar. You put sugar in a cup. Okay, you take, let's say, 1 spoon of sugar or something, and on top, don't squeeze a whole orange, because the whole orange is so much more, as opposed to it is not getting absorbed into this sugar. The sugar is a small amount, right? So not to do it this way. Put just a little bit, not too much. So, and also you're allowed, let's say, to add, let's say, orange juice. Let's say if you want into, if you let's say puree some banana for baby. Okay, you want to make it a little bit liquidy, not so thick. You're allowed to add some juice into there, as long as it gets absorbed and not too much, not too juicy. Just so it's okay if you want to add. You're allowed to You're allowed to squeeze a fruit into a food, not into a different drink. Not into a food you're allowed, but not to a drink.
Liquid.
Not into liquid.
You can't put lemon in like
Now,
salsa?
wait a second, I'm coming to the lemon. Because lemon, it's a subject by itself. Rabbis are very lenient with squeezing lemon. Okay? They allow to squeeze lemon, it's okay. Now, how to do it? If, let's say, you want to do a lemonade, right? Yeah? So, the best way to do it is you take some sugar and you put it into a cup. You don't add so much lemon, right? Because it's too sour. You add those, some drops of lemon into this sugar and then you add water, the amount that you need water. This is how you do lemon. It's not about, as long as it gets absorbed into this spoon or 2 spoons of sugar, whatever it is, yeah? This way to do lemonade, it's okay. How about if I want to add lemon into a cup of tea? This could be a little bit a problem, because last time we already mentioned, and if not, I'm mentioning it now, we don't add lemon into hot water. Why? Because lemon is something sharp that gets cooked very fast. It's called kalei bishul, gets cooked very fast. So even if the cup with the hot water is already kli sheni, it can get cooked in kli sheni. Okay, let's explain. So how do we add lemon into hot tea? So you take water from the urn into this first the kli sheni, this cup. Okay, kli rishon is the urn, is the source of heat. Okay, the water. And then I pour it into this cup. It's called kli sheni. From kli sheni, I pour it to another one. In there, I can add my sugar, I can add my lemon, and whatever else I want. This is not a problem, okay? So kli shlishi, no problem. If you insist in having your lemon directly into the tea that you do, so you have to wait until it cools a little bit, until when you touch it, it's not yet soledet. Then you're allowed to add your lemon, okay, first into the sugar and then whatever. Okay.
How you can squeeze the lemon? Like I have a special wooden stick that I can go like this.
No wooden sticks, no special stuff.
Just with the hand like that?
Yeah, squeeze it. Okay.
What about the seeds that fall out? Can I take it out?
So this is already, we're falling into borer. Borer is selecting. Bezat Hashem, we're going to make a shiur for borer. You can remove some seeds with the juice itself.
Can you squeeze the lemon just to drink the juice itself, not to be mixed with anything?
So into food they say it's allowed.
No, because let's say I know some people, if they have high blood pressure,
Yeah,
they can just squeeze a lemon and just drink the juice and it'll lower it.
Or they just eat it, squeeze it out.
When you eat it, it's not a problem. This is the chachila. This is the way that you eat. It's okay. If you eat it lemon just like that. For health reasons, if somebody is sick and he needs to lower temperature, I guess, to lower blood pressure for his own health, maybe it's okay, no problem. But for other reasons, so like beshinui, there's all kind of maybe ways that could be done. Okay.
So I'm sorry. So the kli shlishi, it's okay to squeeze a lemon.
Yeah, on top of food, on top of
No, on the
sugar.
tea. Oh, on top of the
No,
sugar.
it's
supposed to be?
can not to squeeze into a liquid. We said before, but on top of food, when it's absorbed into somewhere, it's okay.
When you said on the kli shlishi, you can do that.
כלי שלישי,
When it's cool.
yeah, אבל גם כן, but also into food, into sugar.
But what if I don't want sugar?
It says that you could squeeze it into food, so it will be dissolved, or
I think you can
it
only
shouldn't be set.
press in the cup, the lemon, then add the water. She wants without sugar. No?
No, so we say that it needs to be on top of food, so it won't. You won't see that you really.
Yeah, but if it's you said if it's kli shlishi,
Cliche because of the warmth of the water.
so I can put it on top of the. Oh no, not on top of the water. It's supposed to be an empty.
No.
No.
I don't understand.
If you want to squeeze a lemon, you have to squeeze a lemon on top of food.
Well, she's saying like a sugar.
So it doesn't matter if it's kli shlishi or not.
Doesn't matter. No. It matters just because of the warmth, we said. Okay. Sometimes people, they cut across a grapefruit and they insert a spoon inside, for the juice. This is not allowed on Shabbat. You're allowed to eat the whole grapefruit juice with the spoon. It's okay, but not to just the juice. This we don't do on Shabbat.
From the fruits.
From the fruit, yeah. So now sometimes there are, let's say, pickled fruits, vegetables, like pickled cucumber, let's say, for example, and it's very, very wet, or boiled vegetables, it says, and you don't want. It's too wet, it's too much absorbed with this salty or vinegar or whatever. You're allowed to squeeze these vegetables, it says, into an empty utensil if you don't need the water that comes out of it. Sometimes people want the water to maybe put it in a different salad, you want to do a cabbage salad or something. We don't, if you need the water of it, okay, So you cannot squeeze it this way. You could squeeze it if you don't need the water of it. Okay, no problem. Sometimes food is too oily. Let's say eggplants or some other vegetables that you were, I don't know, frying, or the kugel, or some Sfari they eat jachnun. Let's say if it's too oily, you're allowed to squeeze it, because you don't squeeze it for the oil. You don't need the oil that comes out of it, but this is the way that you will be able to eat it. Then it says it's okay. If a drink, a liquid, that let's say you have some grapes and some liquid were dripping from it, okay, you're not allowed to drink it, because you can come to a point that you would like to squeeze more. And with grapes, we're more careful with from all the other fruits. But other fruits, vegetables that you were cutting, and let's say some water came out of it or whatever, no problem, it's okay. Especially if it was designated for food, so no problem. Let's talk about squeezing with other stuff. We said some of these things last time when we spoke about clothing. A clothing that became wet or were soaked in water, you cannot squeeze it on Shabbat. This is mishum melaben. Melaben is cleaning, because once you're squeezing, you're cleaning the cloth. So this we cannot do on Shabbat. And if a cloth got dirty from wine or some other liquids, you cannot squeeze also from the Rabbanan already. But so no squeezing. Clothing that fell into water, or let's say a cloth, a dishcloth that you wash, that you wipe stuff with, that became absorbed very, very much and it's wet, you cannot carry it on Shabbat because you might squeeze it. Okay. Two people, let's say, can take it. This is already shinui. If you need to remove it from the place, two people should carry it. This is the shinui. This is the difference. And you're allowed to carry a cloth that you cannot squeeze it at all. This is something that you can carry it. Let's say a rug, I don't know, let's say that you cannot really squeeze such a thing, so this kind of a thing you could carry. A person that goes in rain and he gets soaked in rain, he shouldn't be afraid that as he walks, he squeezes his clothing, or squeezes, sometimes you feel that your shoe is squeezed, and this is the way. You cannot really do anything about this, so it's okay. It's just that whenever you get home, you cannot dry the clothing, flatten it on all kind of stuff, and especially on a rack that usually dry, let's say, clothing, because people might think that you did laundry and you're hanging this clothing on this. This is not allowed. If some liquid was spilled on the table, for example, you have to be careful not to wipe the table in a way that you can squeeze the cloth. Okay, I brought this, I saw it at home. This is called a squeegee. Okay, there's some smaller, this is very good to, sometimes let's say something spilled, you could drag the water with this instead of, with cloth. And this way you don't usually squeeze, it's not a problem. So this is a good thing to use if you need to wipe something. Or just to put some paper towels or washcloths on this place where water was spilled, and just leave it. Don't pick it up. Just leave it. It just will prevent this water to get more spread out and whatever, and just leave it. Because once you're picking it up to take it, you will squeeze, and that's a problem.
What if you have no other choice? Like it's on the big dining table and you have to move that cloth. So what do you do?
So you could put it, let's say, right away on a plate or into a bucket or something. You don't carry it and meanwhile squeeze it. It could be a way of doing it. Um, you can spray some water or some detergent, okay, on a clean cloth and gently wipe the table. Okay, gently. Be careful not to squeeze this thing. And if this cloth is dirty, okay, from leftovers, from food that got attached to it or something, you cannot wet it. This is what it says. When you're allowed to also wet some water, I said wet paper or paper towel, but you have to be careful, not to come to a point that you will squeeze it. Just gently, just a little bit, not too much. We cannot use sponges on Shabbat to wash dishes. This sponge, for example, okay, it's a sponge inside. From the outside, it's for scoring or whatever, but from the inside, you feel it how and water gets in and gets absorbed inside, and this we cannot use on Shabbat. Usually we use those on Shabbat, synthetic plastic, that water usually don't get absorbed inside. Recently I saw this thing. It says it's Shabbat clean, and it says that it was checked and permitted for use on Shabbat by certain rabbis, Rishon LeZion, Rav Mahmoud, Rav Dov Lior. I guess it's not that dense. If it's not dense,
There's no sponge inside.
huh?
There's no sponge inside.
Yeah.
So what's in there? It still holds
This,
the water.
this material is inside. This thing.
This material is
plastic
inside.
is
So as long as it's synthetic and it's dense,
You don't
it's
squeeze
not dense. I'm sorry. So maybe it's okay. I don't know. But those for sure are okay. No problem. Huh?
Ashkenazim, they don't believe in this.
Yeah, יכול להיות, יכול להיות.
Yeah, my sister, I told her so many times it's approved by rabbi. She said no. Because she's married Ashkenaz. She said no, I have to ask my rabbi.
Yeah.
And they
This
don't
is
like
for
that.
sure no problem. It's okay. They're not the best thing, but that's what we have for Shabbat.
That's
So
the
it's
thing
okay.
inside of it.
Huh?
That's the thing that inside
This is
of
the
it.
thing that
That's inside of
inside
that
of
sponge.
it
Yeah.
could be.
What if, let's say, the other sponge that you have, you remove the sponge
sponge?
itself, yeah. You remove it and you use that
From
outside.
here,
Yeah,
if you remove this,
yeah, from inside the
The-
sponge, if you remove the sponge and use that.
so then whenever it's not dense, this thing, and water cannot get absorbed inside, so it's okay. I guess. Okay, and so yeah, we're allowed to clean a baby's bottle with a brush. That also it's the bristles are not dense, and it's from synthetic material. It's okay. If water was spilled to the floor or any kind of liquid, doesn't matter. You could grab it again with with maybe something like that. If you have
The water's still
with
there.
a mop, if the water is still there.
No, the water's still there even though you do with this.
Huh? And
Just not dry, right?
you just have to be careful not to put exactly like on the table a cloth on it and remove it because you may squeeze. So you could leave it just like that on there, and that would be better.
So, Robertson, I have a question. We cannot use with that sponge that you were saying, the Shabbat sponge, we wipe the table and use a napkin to wipe it down because it leaves a lot of water on the table.
Again.
That sponge that you use for Shabbat, when I wash the table, it leaves a lot of water.
You use sponges like those?
The Shabbat sponge that you showed.
This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes the kids spill like yogurt or a straw, and it's like you're having company, so I also take that sponge and I like scrub the table.
Okay.
a little.
If
Right,
you're
and then
allowed,
there's water, a lot of water, so I
It's still
feel
not dry.
no, but I thought are we allowed to take a napkin and wipe it? Or that's considered not?
you'll
okay?
have to take few napkins or
Right.
make it,
Like a
but
little
make
thicker.
sure that the napkin doesn't get so much wet. It doesn't get too wet.
What about, they have cloths that they sell.
Okay.
Yeah, like a microfiber type of cloth. They like disposable ones also. You can use it squeeze it out and then whatever, but, let's say you don't squeeze it out, just like wipe it down and then hang it up like over the sink or something. Is that possible?
So we're not hanging stuff like that unless it's very, very clean, okay? We don't usually hang, we said last time, whenever you hang stuff that are very, very wet, it
Right.
looks like you did the laundry or something, and you're hanging stuff, and usually we don't do it. You just leave it like that, on the counter somewhere, and take care of this after
So
Shabbat.
let it be like soaking and leave it on the table.
No, you can wipe the table and leave this cloth, somewhere in the kitchen, because you cannot really take care of this right now. You understand?
Okay, what if I also pre-cut my bounty, like my paper towels? Can I use that then afterwards? to,
If
like-
you pre-cut them,
Yeah, before Shabbos.
again,
wipe it
as long
down.
as it doesn't get too wet,
But
this
it will,
this
like,
towel.
let's say at times it does get soaking wet.
So put a few
A lot of paper
few
towels, you have
paper
to put,
towels
Like
on
3
top
or
of each
4
other.
paper towels.
It should be thick, not so thin.
And then you can throw in the garbage?
Right, you just take it as a
And
write-off?
then it depends. Whenever you pick it, it drips so much water, it's a problem.
Oh, and if it doesn't. then-
Okay, so you have to take something very, very heavy, something
The
thick
material of
to
the
put
cloth
on
has to
top
be
of
very
this.
heavy.
Yeah. Now we're talking about walking in snow. It's allowed to crush snow or hail, meaning to cut them to. It's not allowed to crush snow or hail, meaning to cut them to small pieces, so that water will come out of it. Some rabbis say it's allowed to disperse salt on top of snow, even though snow gets melted from this. So some say it's okay. It's allowed to put ice into a drink,
That's a lot.
and it's allowed to put ice into a drink, and also even to shake the drink so that it's going to get melted faster. It's okay, no problem. It's allowed to put ice on top of fruits to keep them cool. It's okay. We cannot crush ice, but you're allowed to. Let's say you have a big piece. Sometimes you take from the refrigerator, from the freezer. It's a big piece. You're allowed to break it and take a piece into your cup or whatever. You're allowed to put sugar into a cup of tea and stir it, and it will get dissolved inside. It's okay, no problem. Okay, baby wipes. It's allowed to wipe the baby with baby wipes, but to do it gently. Baby wipes, you have to be careful. Sometimes they're very, very wet. If they're very, very wet, you cannot really use them. If you can squeeze them before Shabbat, okay, from the water, so that would be a good idea. I heard today Rav Butbul, his son-in-law of Rav Ovadia Zatzal, and he speaks so much about baby wipes. It's not an easy thing to use baby wipes, he say. Baby wipes is allowed for kids, for babies usually, because they're chole she'en bo sakana babies. But for adults, we tend to use so much baby wipes today. It's not the best idea to use baby wipes because whatever it's made from and all kind of other reasons that he mentioned, he spoke so much about baby wipes. It's not the easiest thing to use baby wipes on Shabbat. So if you can avoid it, it's better.
So for the kids, it's okay, not adults.
So for adults, better not to. If you need, let's say, to wipe yourself, you could wet a little bit, just a drop, your toilet paper or something, or your tissue or something to wipe yourself. If you do it gently, he says it's okay.
But they sell today special wipes that you can use in Shabbat.
If it's a special wipe that is,
Yeah, baby wipe that says
Yeah.
allowed to use in Shabbat.
he said, I don't know, I didn't check these things because I don't use baby wipe.
What company is that?
And the Target.
The rabbi, hold on a second, I didn't hear you. The rabbi says like that. In Israel, they do today baby wipes. I'm sorry, they do wipes that are from paper, not from material, because those baby wipes usually are made from some kind of a material. They're so thick you cannot really tear it, and you cannot flush it also because everything's going to get stuck there. But in Israel, they start doing it from paper so that you could flush them also. This, he says, is so much easier for adults to use. not the regular ones. I didn't hear you before.
I was saying that, like, if the Target wipes and the Costco wipes, if it gets to the bottom, though, I don't know, this might.
They're wet.
They're wet.
Okay.
If you open
At
like
the beginning, they're not.
A new pack, yeah, it's true. At the beginning of the pack, usually
Flip
it's
it.
because down there it's absorbed with the water and it's a problem. So yeah, not to
Yeah, I
use
have
the
another question. You said that the adults shouldn't really use wipes for themselves, but what about with mikvah and, you know, I guess not on Shabbat, but on like Yom Tov, they say that you can use a wipe to like,
So for mikvah purposes, it's so much easier because this is for a mitzvah and it's easier for a mitzvah. He said also that when people have to, when women have to go to mikvah, usually we're not allowed to squeeze hair and everything. So usually you're not supposed to go into water because of this, but for mikvah it's okay. And you just have to be careful whenever you leave. Just gently.
I always wonder about that, because I just like, what do you do?
Yeah, gently to, in a fluffy way to wipe
So you're definitely not allowed to put a towel.
Huh?
You cannot put a towel
What?
for your hair.
You're allowed to use towel, but just gently and fluffy, not very
Like
strong, not to
basically
squeeze, and also
that.
not to. Sometimes you remove hair because of that, So this is something that you have to be careful. Also, let's say somebody bleeds from the nose, okay, and it's hard for him to stop the bleeding. So the rabbi said it's allowed to put. Usually we don't use cotton balls because cotton balls absorb. But for this reason, when he cannot stop the bleeding, he said it's allowed to put
the
it
tissue
to
paper
stop
also
the
absorb.
bleeding. Huh?
Tissue paper, they also absorb.
Exactly. So
Oh,
tissue
tissue's
is
okay?
better. Tissue is better than that. To draw blood, usually it's not allowed on Shabbat because draw blood is exactly the same tolada of dash. To remove, to separate blood that was in a place, to remove it. So usually you cannot, let's say, press on pimples and stuff because either blood comes out or pus comes out. This is not allowed to do on Shabbat. You cannot press it indirectly or directly. Sometimes you do it through the bandage, also not allowed. You cannot draw blood for blood test. And whoever needs to do a sugar test on Shabbat, sugar in the blood, yeah. So this, he has to ask what to do. There's all types of ways to do it. And if somebody has a diabetes and he really needs to check himself, he can check himself. But there's all kind of stuff, all kind of devices, all kind of ways. I read today that in Israel they have they don't have to do it anymore with drawing or taking some blood digitally. They scan a person and they can find.
No, they have something that
I don't
on
know
the
exactly
skin and
what
the
it
skin.
So that's
too.
for type 1 diabetics. It's called the Dexcom. It monitors their sugar. But not
Yeah.
for type 2. For type 2,
Ah.
if their diabetes is
I
too
guess
intense,
so.
they still have to check their sugar.
Okay, so there's all kind of ways. It depends. If people can do it b'shinui, it's so much better, of course. People are allowed to inject insulin if they need. It's not a problem. And now I'm coming to milking and nursing. Yes.
One quick question, makeup wipes, is it allowed on Shabbat? Like if it's like very like sometimes it's very wet, it's very damp. If you take like
So
a
no,
makeup wipe.
if it's very damp, so no. What is makeup wipes?
Like it's like a,
Wipes the remover, makeup
Makeup remover?
yeah, like
Uh-huh.
makeup remover, like wipes, like towels.
Mhm.
You can
You
remove
said,
makeup
Rabbi
on
said,
Shabbat.
first class.
We said that we didn't
Yeah,
do
you're
it,
allowed,
right?
no?
We don't do it. You take your
Yeah.
own. Achel, you take a makeup remover with your hand even, and you could go.
No,
wipe your
if you have
hands.
a foundation or something on Friday.
So it's okay to do it with a tissue and
It's a tissue, but
yeah,
not with actual
yeah.
makeup, like.
no,
like
but also
towel.
not too wet, not to make the tissue so wet with this makeup remover. Whoever. Now we're talking about milking. We cannot milk the animal on Shabbat. Again, the same tolada.
I'm sorry, Ronnie. בשיעור הורדנו makeup remover is okay.
Yeah.
Makeup remover is okay.
Yeah,
That's
those
what she's
clothes,
saying.
the clothes.
I don't know.
Madam, she said send them.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not so liquidy,
It's not
not
just
so.
so
It's
wet.
just them,
Because
it's not
it's
so.
also
I'll check it out. I'll check it out again soon, in a second. So, we cannot really milk animals on Shabbat, okay? But there's something that's called tzar ba'alei chaim, when the animal suffers, when it's loaded with milk. So, whenever the animal suffers, we can call a non-Jewish person to come and milk the cow, okay? It's just that you cannot really use that milk on Shabbat, but even you cannot even carry it on Shabbat.
But
Asur,
you're
זה
still
ממש
telling
מוקצה.
non-Jew to do it. It's
Huh?
like- You're still telling the non-Jew to do it.
So yeah, it's allowed to, but you cannot really use this milk. Now, if there's no Jew, if there's no goy that can do it, a Jewish person can milk the cow too, but he has to waste this milk. He cannot really use it. He has to throw it to the garbage, and this you're allowed to carry because you throw it, or you put some dirt into the bucket, not to drink it. Okay, the same thing will be also with nursing. A woman cannot pump her milk on Shabbat if she's so full and the baby is not awake yet. Okay, to drink from her, she cannot pump it and save it. She can pump it with a manual one, not with the electric one, with a manual one to waste it. Or she puts some soap in the bottle so the baby won't be able to drink it, whatever it comes out. It's such a shame, I know, to do such a thing, but what can you do?
Also not to do it?
Huh?
Manually, you cannot do it also?
Manually to waste. If the baby is not eating anything else and he really needs mother's breast and nothing else because he's allergic, because this, because that, sometimes a premature baby or whatever, so if we do it beshinui, let's say two ladies together do it, or some kind of other shinui that you can find, so then it's okay to do it with a manual one. Otherwise, there's all kind of other devices out there, and you have to call the individual, and you have to ask individually the rabbi what's allowed, what's not allowed for you.
You have no timer ones, like you can put it on a timer.
I know, but it's not that easy. It's not that simple. I asked the rabbi today. He said each thing is individual, and you have to ask the rabbi if it's okay or not. Some Ashkenazis say it's okay if you put it in a timer. You have to be prepared and sit on this machine before it starts working, and it's a whole big thing. So it's not that simple. A woman that is breastfeeding is allowed to clean her nipples with a tissue, with some something on it to wipe it, to make it clean, soap or whatever, but shouldn't use cotton ball because it absorbs very much. And so she's allowed also to put whatever. Some people have sometimes let's say somebody have an ear aches very much, pain in the ears, and they say that there's this type of remedy that a woman, she could pour some of her breast milk into this ear, so it's okay also to do it beshinui, with the help of somebody or something.
That's for the baby, if the
No,
baby
no.
has an ear infection?
Ear infection. It speaks here about other people, not only a baby. Let's finish with the story. I also read it this week. Also from a few months ago, very new story. It's beautiful, beautiful story. So, few months ago maybe, there was this ceremony in Israel. They were distributing awards or certificate of appreciation, if you want to call it, to all kind of groups of soldiers in the Israeli army. One group of soldiers were in charge of the Iron Dome. So Elat Kipat Barzel, the one that sends back kills the missiles that comes from Gaza and other places. So they saw in the radar that Gaza, they send missiles to them, and it probably will land in the south of Israel in a very dense population in the middle of the square of the city of that town, okay? And usually they have to get there are a few minutes, a few seconds to decide, if to activate it or not, what to do and everything. And they need to get a permission also from a senior commander, okay, to do that. Otherwise, they cannot do it. So, by their orders, they were supposed to get an approval, and they were looking for this officer, couldn't find him. Didn't know what to do. It's seconds. You have to decide right away. So, on their own, this group of soldiers took the initiative and decided to shoot back this missile. It was already almost on top of them, and they activated. And Baruch Hashem, a big disaster was prevented. They were able to take care of it, and everything was okay. In the ceremony, they gave out these awards, and then they realized something interesting, another thing on top of this. Turned out that just before that event, there was another violation of orders. The commander of this battery of the Iron Dome got on a Friday an order to dismantle the Iron Dome at that area and to transform it to a different place. I guess, there were not threats for that place, and they had to transform it to another place. But he was thinking, if we're going to dismantle it, it's going to take so much time, and we will probably get into Shabbat and we will violate the Shabbat. Now, because there's no really pikuach nefesh, it's not life-threatening to dismantle it right now, he decided to wait with this to Motzei Shabbat and not to do it. So they didn't dismantle it, and so they continue operating the system, because if you don't dismantle, you have to continue operating. You have to continue. Fine. Exactly at that Friday night, those people in Gaza decided to send those missiles into that area, surprisingly. And the soldiers, okay, and the commander were trying to locate those senior officer, couldn't find him. So decided on their own to do it. And Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Now, if this battery would be already dismantled, they couldn't activate it anymore because you cannot really use it anymore, right? So definitely if it would be removed to a different place, God forbid, who knows, what problem it would cause, what disaster, God forbid, could happen over there. So this is whoever keeps the Shabbat protects Am Yisrael. יהי רצון שבזכות שמירת השבת כהלכתה, Hashem will protect us, all of us, from danger, from pandemic, from disease, from זה, ובעזרת השם רק בשורות טובות. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you. תודה רבה. Thank you.